Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Over the next 2 days, we will be profiling the candidates running in the federal election in the Battlefords, Lloydminster, and Lakeland constituencies. We begin today with Battleford's Lloydminster. We reached out to all candidates on the ballot, and both Larry Ingram of the Liberal Party and Kerry Wall of the Green Party were not available. We begin today with Conservative candidate Rosemary Falk. Jace Mackey has that interview.
I'm pleased to be joined today on Primetime Local News with the Conservative candidate for the riding of Battleford, Lloydminster, Rosemary Falk. Rosemary, first of all, thank you for taking some time to talk with me. My first question for you is, why do you think you should be re-elected as the MP for Battleford's Lloydminster?
Well, thank you so much for that question. It's been a complete honor to be the local voice, not only on the floor of the House of Commons, but on the floor of the caucus room as well. I've had the opportunity to represent not only our energy sector, our agricultural sector, and our rural communities. And it's been a great honor, and I hope I can continue that.
So when you've been going door to door in this campaign, what is the biggest issue you've been hearing from voters in the riding?
I can tell you there's lots of issues that voters here in Battleford, Lloydminster care about. One of the main ones that I hear almost daily, for sure every town that I go to, is affordability and how life is getting more and more unaffordable and more expensive. And people just want to be able to work, make ends meet, save some money for tomorrow, and be able to provide for their families.
So sticking on that topic of affordability, the Conservatives are running on Canada's Recovery Plan. That's your platform. What plans in that platform will deal with affordability and make life more affordable for people in this riding?
One of our pillars, as I'm sure you know, is securing jobs. And this is securing 1 million jobs that we've lost during the pandemic. And, by giving people the opportunity to work and facilitating the environment so that investors will come back to Canada, that's going to do leaps and bounds. We do understand the importance of our small businesses. We do have some incentives when it comes to rebuilding Main Street and just acknowledging how important, especially in ridings like Battleford, Lloydminster, where some of these small communities, the mom and pop shops, the small businesses literally are the hub of these communities. So it's so important that the federal government recognizes the importance of them and what they've been through throughout these past 18 months through this pandemic.
Now, another big pillar of the Conservative platform is securing mental health. Can you kind of take us through a little bit more about what the Conservative plan is when it comes to mental health?
We will implement the 3-digit hotline, which would be 988. Also to injecting money, dollars into the provinces. We know throughout this pandemic, the provinces have been asking for increased funds when it comes to healthcare, and making mental health an important pillar of that is definitely so important. If we look at what our plan is to secure jobs, we need to have healthy people, and that doesn't just include physically, that also includes mentally. And when we look coming out of this pandemic, we need to make sure that mental health is a priority. And I am proud to be a part of a party that recognizes that with tangible, real resources that can be added for provincial governments to use.
Now, in the last federal election, the Conservatives won every seat in Alberta and Saskatchewan except for one in Alberta. And you yourself, you won with upwards of 80% of the vote. But the Conservatives were still in opposition. And there are some people in this riding that voted Conservative in the past, but now maybe looking towards the People's Party or the Maverick Party, looking for better representation of the West. What would be your message to those voters of why they should vote Conservative again this time around?
That's a really great question, Jace. I think you have to recognize, as you mentioned, the Conservatives were in opposition. We have to remember that Justin Trudeau, as the Liberal Prime Minister, prorogued Parliament to cover up a scandal of corruption that he had with his cabinet and himself helping his friends in high places. And that was the We Charity scandal, where he tried to give close to $1 billion to his friends when there was other alternatives. So he prorogued Parliament in a minority, which was interesting. And now here we are, less than a year later. He's dissolved Parliament with the help of the Governor General. And I think to even just look at our history in this short Parliament of the private members' bills that were Conservative bills that we've been able to pass is really great. The way private members' bills works is it's a lottery. Each member is pulled a ticket, and then they fall in the lottery line, and then they get to bring forward their private members bills. So we've passed a few of them, one of them being helping small businesses, farms, family farms, pass on their business to a family member and lowering the tax burden, because right now, how it was before this conservative private members bill was, in order to do that, pass it on to a family member, sell it to a family member, there was increased taxes, as opposed to selling it to somebody that you didn't know. We also had passed a private members bill for organ donations to make it more accessible for people when it comes to organ donations. Also, compassionate care leave. So there's been a few things that we've passed as an opposition, let alone holding the government to account.
Well, thank you so much, Rosemary, for taking some time to talk with us. And I wish you the best of luck in your campaign.
Next in our candidate profiles is the NDP candidate for the Battleford's Lloydminster riding, Eric Hanson. I chatted with him on his platform and more for the election. I'm joined here now with Eric Hanson, and he is the NDP candidate of the Battleford's Lloydminster riding. Now, Eric, what is the platform you're focusing on this election?
My personal thing is not so much the platform as it is discussing the ideas that people want taken care of, and that's taxation at the top end of society, which has been neglected for a number of years and actually gone down quite a bit over the years. And we can't continue that way. It's just impossible to keep up with the cost of living, which is continually going up in the world. And if we don't have corporate leaders and corporations paying their fair share, the bottom end of the spectrum is going to be left out, and they're already being left out, and it has to be addressed.
And what have you been hearing from constituents in your riding?
They're all angry. Not just some of them, though. Most of them are either frustrated or angry. And it's angry because we're getting all this lip service from politicians and we're not getting the follow through. In 2015, for example, I'm not a liberal, but I sort of liked the campaign for proportional representation because I've voted all my life and I've never been represented because I live in Saskatchewan, and I lived in Alberta before that for most of my working career. So to have a proportional system that levels the playing field and actually gives everybody representation versus basically two parties that if you're part of them, you're included or not. We have to turn to something like that to give us a more strength democratically. And I know you and I are very into that, democratic being heard. And whereas governments don't really want to be bothered with that because it becomes a thorn in their side, especially if they can't win a majority with 40% of the vote.
And what is your plan for your campaign? Going out door knocking and things such as that?
I've gone to, you know what, and I was involved sort of in helping with the last year's provincial election. And at that time, I just started, I wanted to go out and meet people at the First Nations. So I went to it was a trail ride, and they had a breakfast before they went out, and we were all safe distancing and wearing masks and stuff like that. And it was great. You know what? They treated me just like another friend, and I wasn't involved in politics as far as like campaign or anything. I was just me, an individual. So this year for the campaign, I decided, well, I'm going to start cultivating these relationships. And I went out on a survivor's walk, and there again, they treated me with a respect that I wasn't expecting, because the way they've been treated in many cases. It's just not, they're so much more, I don't know, they're so much more accepting than we are. And I embrace that. And it just gave me a shot of adrenaline that has kept me going this whole campaign. I was scared out of my wits when I first decided to take this on. But you know what? I woke up one day and I just felt that I'm going to do it my way this time. You know what? I'm just going to talk from my heart, and I'm just going to do it the way I want. And people have taken that and they've accepted it, and it's it's ingratiating. I just love it.
Thank you so much for your time today, Eric. Now we have the Maverick Party candidate for the Battleford's Lloydminster riding, Ken Rutherford, to speak on his campaign platform. Our Shelby Clark got the details.
I'm joined here with Ken Rutherford, the Battleford's candidate with the Maverick Party. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me, Shelby. It's wonderful to be here.
I want to start off by asking, what exactly is your campaign platform and what do you stand for?
The party platforms are long and extensive, so you don't want me to read you off a 10-page document. In short, what the Maverick Party is representing the West and only the West. So they're only running candidates west of the Manitoba border and only running candidates in areas that won't split a vote and let a Liberal through. And anything that is good for the West, we stand up for. Anything that harms the West, we stand against. And it's just that simple. So basically everything just falls out of what I've just told you. That's the base of the platform. Now myself, I've always been a conservative voter all my life since I was 18. And just like many others in this area, I've become frustrated and felt politically homeless over the last couple of years here, where I feel like the Conservatives are now chasing the votes in Ontario and Quebec. You know, for example, supporting the carbon tax, and we're opposed to the carbon tax. And it's just a numbers game. There's 199 seats out of 338 in Ontario and Quebec, and just a numbers game. So I guess here I am, running the Maverick Party, but in short, we're running for the West and only for the West.
And is there a message that you'd like to share to constituents ahead of the election?
Well, I would say in this area, it's a heavy conservative area. In my area on the Battlefords Lloydminster, Rosemary Falk is the incumbent, and she had 80% of the votes in the last election. When we explain the Maverick platform to most people in this area, they would say, listen, I'm worried about vote splitting because we can't let a Liberal through. And I'm like-minded. I'm not a Liberal fan. I've never voted Liberal, especially now. And so having a Liberal make their way through would be, I think, not a good thing. So the biggest fear in this area is vote splitting. Ken, I would vote for you, but as long as vote splitting doesn't let a Liberal through. So when I explained to them, in the last election, Rosemary Falk had 28,000 votes. The Liberal candidate, Larry Ingram, I believe, had around 2,000. Maybe I'm out by 500. But when I explained to them that there's no way you can split 28,000 votes in two ways and let the Liberal through, then they say, oh, wait a minute, you're going to represent the West. You're community minded, and you won't split the vote and let a Liberal through. I'm 100% behind you. So once we explain the vote splitting, that's the biggest concern people have. And that usually is like, well, it's easy to get behind. You know, just you're going to represent the West. You're going to stand up for us because Central Canada, you know, Ottawa isn't listening to us, and they are actually opposing us in many regards. It's time for us to do something different. So that would be the biggest thing I'd say, Shelby.
Now, how exactly have you been spreading your message? Have you been knocking on doors?
Yes, we've done it all. We've done a lot on social media. We've got a ton of signs. There's a lot of support in this area. You just drive around Lloydminster and you'll see Maverick signs on many properties, many businesses. So it's surprising the support that the party's had. The party's only a year old. And so door knocking, social media, signs, meet and greets, candidate forums, we've done it all. And it's encouraging to see the amount of support behind us. It's unbelievable, actually.
What's your plan from now till the election?
We are doing something every single night somewhere. My plan is to run as hard as I can, cross that finish line, and and send a message to Central Ottawa or to Central Canada, to Ottawa, that the West is done with the abuse. And so basically it's just door knocking, more signs, visiting people, meet and greets. So that's it. Just talking to people, letting them know that we're here for the West and we won't split the vote and let a Liberal through, and it's time for change.
Now, could you expand a bit more on what your message is to people that want to vote for you but are worried that it'll split?
Basically, what I tell them is I'm a hardworking person. I pay my bills. I actually don't even like politicians, to be honest. I'm not a career politician. I teach at Lakeland College. I have my own business. If people hire me, and if I don't do what I say I'm going to do and represent them well, fire me. Right? It's just that simple. So that would be my biggest message.
Perfect. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today, Ken.
Thank you, Shelby.
Now Shelby Clark will take a first look at your weather forecast. Thanks so much, Jasmine. Now taking a first look at your weather forecast. We're here in the border city. We are sitting at 15 degrees with a mix of some sun and cloud. Earlier we were seeing more of a windier day and a little bit more cooler than we were seeing yesterday, but we have been seeing more sun peeking behind those clouds as we went later on through our day here. Now taking a look at temperatures across the region with for Alberta and Saskatchewan here. Lakeland is at 14 degrees as well as in Bonnyville and St. Paul. Most places are at that 15 degree mark here, and Provost is a little bit cooler at 13. Now over on this end here, Isla Cross and Green Lake are at 13 degrees as well. Pierceland and St. Walburg and Maidstone are all at 14 degrees. Meadow Lake is at 16 degrees in North Battleford and Macklin, while Macklin is at 13 degrees. North Battleford is at 15. Now speaking of North Battleford, overnight they will be seeing a low of 7 degrees, so cooling down quite a bit than what they were seeing before, and they will be seeing a little bit more clouds in sight. And tomorrow they will be seeing a high chance of some showers with a lot more cloudier skies with a high of 10 degrees tomorrow. Over in Cold Lake overnight, they'll be seeing a low of 7 degrees as well, but they will be seeing a chance of some showers overnight leading into tomorrow. And tomorrow they'll be cooling down quite a bit there to a high of 7 degrees tomorrow with a lot more rain and cloudier skies as well. And now taking a look at the school day forecast for students here in the border city. Tomorrow they'll be starting off at 8 a.m., starting off to school a little bit cooler there with a lot more cloudier skies with 7 degrees. And throughout the day, they won't be warming up too much there, so make sure they are wearing warmer clothes for tomorrow. And they will be seeing 8 degrees by the time the school day is out. And now taking a look at our 3-day forecast for here in the border city. Thursday, we will be seeing a cooler day with a high of 10 and a low of 6 degrees and seeing around a 60% chance of some precipitation there on Thursday. And Friday, we will be keeping on that cool streak there with a high of 16 with a mix of sun and cloud and a low of -1 actually. But Saturday, we will be warming up a bit there for the weekend with a high of 22 and a low of 7 with a little bit more sun peeking behind those clouds. That's our first look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break. Welcome back. We're continuing with our profiles of the candidates for the Battlefords Lloydminster riding. Up now, the People's Party of Canada candidate Terry Sieben. Jace Mackey has more.
Terry Sieben is running for the People's Party of Canada in the riding of Battlefords Lloydminster. He says he's running to fight for change here in the riding.
Well, I'm here to help the people. Has been, in the last 24 years or so, our business is like small businesses is losing their rights. It's harder and harder to open up a small business because you got the retail people, the wholesale people won't sell to you unless you belong to a box store. And then I've been in the bar for 20 some years now, and I was out of it for 10 years, got back in. And when I found out that Saskatchewan Party took a lot of rights away from us, took their buying rights through the Hotel Association away and so forth, and they're making it harder and harder for small business to operate.
Sieben believes this election should be a referendum on COVID-19 restrictions and vaccine passports.
Well, their biggest concerns that I'm hearing is about the mask and COVID right now. They're really concerned. They don't know what's going to happen. Everybody feels, in the next 4 years we'll become a communist country. And then I said, well, we already are a communist country. It's just that it's not in writing yet.
Another big issue that Sieben wants to focus on if elected is health care.
We're getting more and more people sending messages, and I'm talking to lots of people. A lot of to do with health care, which is another big issue. Because a lot of this, one woman phoned me, said the doctors won't help her anymore because she's in stage 5 cancer, and they said they're not going to revive her if she goes away and passes on. And she said, I don't want that. Like, she's 51 years old, and she figures that the doctors messed up when they operated on her 2 years ago. Didn't take it all like they were supposed to. And now she's in there on her last, go around.
Sebin says if elected, he will stand up and defend the oil and gas industry here in the riding.
The oil work is another big deal. They would like to see more jobs out here. And I also brought up we got to start employing our people here in this province to sending all our stuff over to Asia to get it built and bring it back, and for big business to make a ball of money off of us.
Sebin says if elected as Member of Parliament, he will be available to constituents and always answer their questions.
Because we're here for the people, and we will help the people out. We're not going to be like other people. Every time I looked, I phoned MPs and stuff and wanted to talk to them, and you never have a chance to talk to them. You tell your issues someone will get back to you, and you never do. I myself, if I get elected for MP of Battleford, Lloydminster, I would be there for the people. I will talk to the people.
When asked about some of the extreme tactics taken by PPC supporters in protesting the Liberal leader, Sebin says they do not represent the party.
When I read about it, they're there for the people. They want to help the people. And, I guess everybody will come up and say, you say one thing to one person, and you can take it 5 different ways. I myself, I believe, and I know I will be there for the people.
Sebin says he's been a lifelong Conservative and is disappointed with the Conservative Party and wants to be a true Conservative voice.
Well, we got into a little disagreement with the president of the PC party, and they started kicking people out, and I basically voiced my opinion, and I told them, I said, well, Jesus, you guys can't do that. And I said, you want to build this party and you guys want to kick people out. And I said, I couldn't understand why they would ever do that.
The election takes place on September 20th. For Primetime Local News, I'm Jace Mackey.
In this week's Beyond the Classroom, we take a look at how a class garden at Bishop Lloyd Middle School is providing to families in need around the border city. In April, Maheen Mungla finished in the top 10 in the Caring for Our Watersheds competition in central Alberta. With her 7th place finish, she won $450 for herself and the school. With that money and the help of community partners, they were able to build a new garden and planters that they tended to throughout the summer. And on Tuesday, they began harvesting their garden.
We received a big grant from Home Depot for $1,000. We got some donated seeds from Home Hardware. We also got some manure from Man Ranching to use it as fertilizer for our gardens. It was really fun because we got to do things together, and we also got to learn how to garden because I personally never knew all this stuff before. And I learned a lot of new things and spent a lot of time with my friends.
The students planted a variety of vegetables at Bishop Lloyd and Bud Miller Park, and the food will be going towards a good cause, as they will be donating the vegetables to the food bank for local families around the community.
It means a lot because during the pandemic we weren't able to do much, and so being like one of the only things from the school that was able to give back to the community, it feels really good.
The class entered the Garden Grant program put on by the Whole Kids Foundation, and they were awarded a $3,000 grant to continue the garden. They are looking to expand it and bring more classes into it in the future. Teacher Brent Golden was happy to see his students' hard work pay off.
It's like we planted them in May, and then it's a 4 or 5 months process to actually then harvest it. And their plants had names, and they had special ones, and they were excited to see what came out of their plants. So again, a lot of learning happened, but also to see the smiles on their faces after this long year was really, really rewarding to do.
And that's it for this week's Beyond the Classroom.
At Lakeland College, our students are challenged to go beyond the classroom, so when industry knocks, they're ready to thrive. Learn more at lakelandcollege.ca.
Now here are your stock market prices for today.
Today's oil prices are brought to you by First General Services.
Welcome back. Lakeland College's Vermilion campus has a new building which will help facilitate their first ever degree program. Jillian Code has more.
Industry partners, students, and faculty were on hand Tuesday for the grand opening of Lakeland College's Agriculture Technology Center. The 743 square meter building will act as a central hub for applied research projects and their new agriculture technology degree program, the first of its kind in Canada.
There's two spaces in the building, two major spaces. One is a very large lab that allows us to bring equipment in for students to be able to investigate the technology that's on that equipment. We also have a new data lab, the Lewis Farms Data Lab.
Students attending the event showcased a variety of research projects, including GPS tags for cattle, which can monitor temperatures and help researchers collect breeding data. Students I spoke with said they're excited to use the new facility.
This new building is going to be really awesome because it helps us with our data researching, collecting, and all that good stuff to help us be able to figure out the new technologies, how we can help, how we can improve technologies.
It was just like farming with your family. Like, it was just so fun. Like, you weren't even coming just to go to class. It was like going to go to school with your family, then going to go work on the farm with your family. Like, it was just so fun. So yeah, I really enjoy Lakeland. So.
Enrollment in agricultural sciences at Lakeland has increased 100% since 2010. Members of the Lakeland community are confident that this state-of-the-art facility will continue to set their students up for success post-graduation.
We're very student-centered here. We also really believe in interfacing students with industry as much as possible because that's who they're going to be employed by, so the closer we can interface them. This kind of facility allows us to do that.
Jillian Code, Primetime Local News.
Now we'll take a look at your egg prices. The Alberta Junior Hockey League will kick off the regular season this Friday. All 16 teams will be in action, including two rivals from the Northeast. Evan Kenny has more ahead of the 60-game season.
This Friday kicks off the regular season for the AJHL. The Lloydminster Bobcats will start off the season with a home-at-home against the Bonnyville Pontiacs.
Last year was very weird. You didn't know if you're going to be playing in the next couple weeks. So it's nice to have a schedule planned out here. Nice to get the boys together early in August there and get things going.
This will be the third meeting between the two teams in the last 10 days. In the previous two matchups, the Pontiacs outscored the Bobcats 9-2.
Obviously, we had two tough games with them in the preseason that showed that the rivalry is real and it's there. So, we're excited to get things started here, and no better way to go against them.
I think as our lineup is more solidified here and guys get used to playing with each other, then the goals will come and the offense is on its way, right? So as guys get used to playing with each other, know where they are, and then the puck finds the back of the net.
The Bobcats finished the preseason with a 3-3 record, including back-to-back 6-5 wins versus the Camrose Kodiaks.
For us, our top guys score goals, and that was a big thing, and it's not going to be any different moving forward. That we need those guys to be big every night, and that's what we're excited about this year.
Friday night, the season opener will be played in Bonnyville before the Bobcats have their home opener on Saturday. Evan Kenny, Primetime Local Sports.
Now Shelby Clark will take a look at your weather across Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Thanks, much, Jazz. Now taking a second look at your weather forecast here. We're going to be starting off with taking a look at central Alberta and Saskatchewan. On the Alberta side, Athabasca and Edson are at 13 degrees. Whitecourt is at 12 degrees, while Edmonton is a bit warmer at 15-degree mark there. Jasper and Rocky Mountain House are at 10 and 11, and Red Deer is the coolest there at 6 degrees. But in Red Deer, there actually is a severe thunderstorm warning, so if you're in that area, make sure you are watching out for the weather just as right now, because there is a warning in effect. Now over on this side here, Meadow Lake is a bit warmer there at 16 degrees, and every other place there is sitting at 15. And now as we move over into our northern region of the provinces, it is a bit cooler in most places as well. Uranium City and Stony Rapids are both at 9 degrees. Holston Lake and South End are at 11 degrees. La Ronge and Flin Flon are sitting at 15 and 16, while La Loche and Buffalo Narrows are at 15 degrees as well. Now over on this end here, Slave Lake is a bit cooler there at that 9-degree mark there. Peace River and Grand Prairie at 13 and 12. Fort McMurray is at 13 as well. And High Level and Fort Chipewyan are at 6 and 8 degrees. So we are cooling down quite a bit in most areas here of the provinces. And now as we take a look at our southern region, a bit warmer here with Lethbridge at 14 degrees. Medicine Hat is at 16, while Calgary and Coronation are at 11 and 13. And Banff is the coolest there at that 6-degree mark. Yorkton is a bit warmer over on this end here. As you can see, most places are a bit warmer here. Yorkton is at 23 degrees. Kindersley and Swift Current are a bit cooler. They're at 12 and 17, though Moose Jaw and Regina are at 20 degrees, and Estevan is the warmest. They're at actually 27, so almost close to 30 degrees there in Estevan. But now as we take a look back at temperatures across the region overnight, we are cooling down quite a bit in most places as we're heading into the fall season here. Meadow Lake, Isla Crosse are going to be seeing a low of 5 degrees overnight. Pierceland, Bonnyville, and Myrna will be seeing a low of 6 degrees. Paradise Hill, Wainwright, and Provost will be seeing the coolest there at a low of 4, and Unity will be seeing the warmest at a low of 7 degrees. But most places will be seeing cloudier skies tonight, while Isla Crosse and Pierceland will actually be seeing a chance of some showers overnight. Now, as we take a look at temperatures tomorrow, we will be cooling down across the region. As you can see here, most places will be seeing around 10 to 13 degrees, but there is a lot that will be seeing that single-digit mark there for our temperatures. And now taking a look at our 7-day forecast for here in the border city, Thursday we'll be seeing our coolest day with a high of 10 degrees with a 60% chance of some precipitation there on Thursday with a lot more cloudier skies. Friday we'll be starting off this cooler weekend with a high of 16 on Friday with a mix of some sun and cloud and a low of -1. So we are seeing those minus temperatures now for our lows coming up here. On Saturday we'll be seeing our warmest with a high of 22 for Saturday. So we will be seeing our warmest there on that day. But as we go on throughout the weekend and into next week, we will be seeing around 18 degrees and on most days, and Tuesday and Wednesday we'll be seeing a lot more sun. That's a second look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
A local brewing company opened its doors to some unusual guests yesterday in a bid to encourage adoptions. Cats took to the tables and bars at Fourth Meridian Brewing Company last night as Purr Babies Forever Homes continued their fall adoption push.
So we've got a bunch of different age ranges. We've got kittens and some adult cats. Some of the cats, a lot of them are rescued off of First Nation land, and some are from in town. They all kind of come from all over the place.
More than 25 cats are hoping to be adopted. For more information, you can head to Purr Babies Forever Homes on Facebook. Addison Mountain from Frog Lake First Nation returned home from Toronto after competing in the Miss Canada Globe Productions pageant.
First up, we have Addison Mountain.
Mountain entered the competition holding the regional title of Miss Teen Central Alberta and went on to win the title of Miss Teen Canada Petite. The pageant events included runway walks, talent competitions, and interviews.
Experience was amazing. I got out of my comfort zone.
And now, after returning home, Mountain is looking forward to upcoming pageants.
I do have another pageant that I'm going to in Mexico, which is next year. So I'm probably going to be starting to do fundraising for that and finishing school. I'm in grade 12, so I'm probably going to be finishing my school But yeah, I'll probably be doing more public speaking.
Now is that time of the show where we take a look at your pet pictures. You can submit them to our Facebook page throughout the week for your chance to win a Pet Pad gift card on Friday.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
Stephanie Dobson is once again with us this week for another episode of Healthy, Thriving Families in Two Homes. And Stephanie, this week we're going to be talking about retroactive child support. So tell me, what exactly does this mean?
You know, I thought this would be a really interesting topic because in 2020 and in 2021, the Supreme Court of Canada revisited this issue of what's called retroactive child support after the original principles of this concept were first introduced back in 2006, or were visited by the Supreme Court of Canada in 2006. So retroactive child support, what is it? It's child support that's ordered to be paid for a time that's already passed. So where there's been a material change in circumstances to the paying parent's income level, the law says that that paying parent needs to change their child support payment to match the income level. Where that doesn't happen, that paying parent could be subject to a retroactive increase in child support. So for example, if a parent was ordered to pay $800 a month in child support, but they should have been paying say $1,000 in child support for the past 12 months, they could be ordered to pay $2,400 in retroactive child support. So that'd be that extra $200 deficiency each month. So as you can imagine, that could become significant over time.
How far back, Stephanie, can people go if they're trying to get this retroactive support?
Well, there's a few things to consider here. So first of all, there's the general rule. And then as with many things in law, there's the exceptions. So let's first talk about the general rule. So there's a presumptive date that has been established by the Supreme Court of Canada, which typically would go back to the date of what's called effective notice, and no longer than 3 years prior to the date of what's called formal notice commencing proceedings. So what the heck is effective notice and how does a person give it? Well, that's really any indication given by the recipient parent that they want to revisit or renegotiate child support. So that could be as simple as a text message. It's better to be in writing, of course, because then you can prove when you gave your effective notice. Now, if a paying parent is looking for a reduction in their child support, that's also possible. And effective notice in that case has to be something more than just sending a text message saying my income has been reduced. It would be providing some kind of documentation that would prove that your income has been reduced, like a pay stub or an income tax return or something to that effect. So second, let's look at those exceptions because we always know that there are some. So various courts have been looking since 2006 at the issue of the exceptions. So, but the Supreme Court of Canada in 2020 and 2021 in these new decisions have addressed occasions where there needs to be exceptions to go back even further. So there is risk to paying parents that increase in child support on a retroactive basis could go back as far as when the income increase actually occurred. There are some factors that the court looks at to determine how far back to go. I'll just give those factors very briefly. Of course, they're very complicated, but just for our viewers' ease of reference. So first, the paying parent's reason for the delay in seeking that income, the increase in child support. Number two, the blameworthiness of the paying parent, if they've had any blameworthy conduct, the circumstances of the child, and any hardship that may be occasioned to the paying parent by ordering such a retroactive increase. The court, I can tell you, is not very tolerant anymore of paying parents who are not paying the child support that's owed according to the guidelines.
Stephanie, what things can be done to avoid issues with retroactive child support?
Well, these issues, of course, the dollar amounts that we're talking about could potentially be very significant for both the paying parent, who may be facing a large lump sum payment possibly, and for the recipient, who may have been struggling for many years to try to get the right amount of child support to be paid by the paying parent. So over the years since the Supreme Court of Canada case back in 2006 was released, there's been more and more positive obligations, mandatory obligations put on both paying parents and the recipient parent of child support to ensure that on an annual basis, at least on an annual basis, but even more so when income has increased, is to exchange income information. My recommendation to all of my clients is always follow that mandatory exchange of income. So once a year, typically in the spring, parents can exchange their tax returns, their corporate financial statements, whatever the most recent ones that are available, any documentation to prove income level. So put very, very simply, if there's a change in income, it's really important that the child support number be updated.
Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today. And if people have questions about this, because this is a big issue, unfortunately, for a lot of families, whether it be child support not getting paid or whatever the case is, or they have questions about this, what is the best way to get more information from you regarding this?
Sure. Our viewers can go visit our website, henkadivorce.ca, or call our office 780-875-2234.
All right, Stephanie, well, thank you for joining us once again this week, and we will talk to you again. I'm excited to be joined today on Primetime Local News by Charlene Rutherford. And Charlene, you are the CEO and president of the Royal Alexandra Hospital Foundation, which must be a super exciting job, but also kind of tough in these times because you do have to make changes in plans for fundraiser like the one we're talking about today, which is the harvest celebration. So Charlene, thank you for joining us. And can you tell me what is planned this year?
Oh, thank you so much, Stacey. It's great to be on. Thank you for having us. Yeah, you know, it is an interesting place to be right now. We're certainly seeing a lot of things happening in healthcare that have us all very, very concerned. But in terms of the business as usual for our foundation in raising funds for the hospital, and in this case, the Lois Hole Hospital for Women, you're right. It's normally this time of year is gala season, but the live gala is for the second year in a row unable to take place. So instead, we have a televised version of Harvest Celebration, and that's this Saturday at 5 p.m. on CTV.
Now, tell me what happens when people tune into this. What do they get to see? Is it still a gala format, or is it? You have a very exciting guest, which you haven't mentioned yet. But what does the format look like when they tune in to watch?
Oh, great question, Stacey. So the format is not a gala. It is really a show that has been put together to inform and celebrate everything that's going on in women's health and the drive for more excellence in women's health care and in women's health research. So this should be of real interest to a lot of a lot of your listeners because, you know, half the population is women. We've given birth to everyone. So we are community health, and the terrific things happening at the Lois Hole Hospital for Women really do impact also your residents in Lloydminster and the surrounding area. So the gala has a format that showcases women's health. And yes, we do have really a lot of unique components. The high point of it, without question, is that we have the Bare Naked Ladies performing, you know, Canada's premier band. It's such an honor and a privilege to have them performing on behalf of women's health and our women's hospital. And they were excited to do it. You know, who better to perform for a women's hospital than the Bare Naked Ladies?
Well, Charlene, if people are looking to help out with this cause and make donations, I know it's tough because you don't have the actual gala and people can't physically attend, but how do people support this cause?
Well, if you tune in and watch, there's going to be many opportunities. I mean, you can obviously go to the Royal Alexandra Hospital Foundation's website, royalalex.org. You can click on the link to the harvest. There are two things you can do. The first is we are offering a 50-50 raffle, a cash raffle, up to $500,000. So someone is going to win that in the week following harvest celebrations. So our hope is that people will tune in and support the raffle, make a purchase. The other thing is to make a donation. There's always that donation that can be made. That's on the same page. And with the donation, you do get a charitable tax receipt, of course.
Well, Charlene, this sounds like it's going to be a great event. So once again, for our viewers, what time does it start and where can they watch it?
Viewers can tune in Saturday, September 18th at 5 o'clock on CTV. And thank you so much for tuning in and for supporting women's health.
Well, Charlene, it was a pleasure to speak with you, and good luck with everything. I know this is difficult times, especially for organizations trying to raise money. So thank you for speaking with us, and we'll chat again sometime soon.
Thank you, Stacy.
And now taking a final look at your 7-day forecast as we go through the night into Thursday here. We'll be seeing a high of 10 on Thursday with a lot more cloudier skies and seeing around a 60% chance of some precipitation. So expect to see some showers tomorrow. And as we start on Friday for our weekend, we'll be seeing a high of 16 on Friday with a mix of some sun and cloud and a low of -1. So we are moving into those cooler lows as we go into the fall season. Saturday, we'll be seeing our warmest day with a high of 22 with a mix of sun and cloud. Sunday will cool down just a bit to a high of 18 with a little bit less sun there. And Monday we'll be starting off next week with a high of 15 and a low of 4 degrees with a mix of some sun and cloud. And the next 2 days on Tuesday and Wednesday we'll be seeing a lot more sun with a high of 18 and a high of 19 on both those days.
Thank you for joining us on Primetime Local News, and we'll have the second hour on CITL.